And look, I apologize. I am nowhere near as handsome as Alex Hormozi. However, I will be delivering the exact same amount of value as Alex Hormozi would have if he was the one recording this video. How can I promise you that so surely? Well, it's because last week I was actually on a call with Alex Hormozi where he broke down his entire VSL structure and explained exactly why he did every little thing that he did. Take a look here. So he spent an entire hour breaking down his own VSL for the school games. What I've done is compiled everything that he said, threw it into one Google Doc that I'm going to give you access to at the end of this video. And I'm going to share with you exactly how you can apply this so you can learn how to make amazing VSLs the same way that Hormozi does. So without further ado, let's dive in. Next time I'll grow a bigger beard, get some bigger muscles, and maybe you'll think I look like Hormozi. So here's the framework that he uses. I'm going to touch on a little bit of the framework, and then we're going to dive into how you can actually script this yourself and go through every little small aspect there. So the framework is this: niche callout, pain, epiphany bridge, guru, MVO, FAQ, proof, price anchor, concern, next steps, and then guarantee plus scarcity. That is the framework. However, Hormozi even said in this review that he did that about 80% of the VSL is really made up via the hook, so the intro, the FAQs, and the proof. If you can just nail the hook, the FAQs, and the proof, you have about 80% of the VSL done. The other 20% is all the other little things that make it spicy, but isn't the chunk of it. Okay, so if you want to have a quick and dirty, super fast VSL that converts, just make sure you have a good hook, good FAQs, and good proof. And if you're wondering, Stefan, what the fuck is that, or how do I do that? Let me share with you moving forward. And also, a cool little tip for you: if you price anchor anything early on, like just say any high price early on, relatively high compared to your price later, it acts as a price anchor, even if it has nothing to do with the price. This is called pseudo pricing. Another random tip is that if you use damaging missions, even Hormozi talked about it in this entire review, that damaging missions are wildly underused by most marketers and salesmen in this day and age. And in a world in which people are super, super skeptical, using a damaging mission is really, really powerful. Kind of like how I did at the beginning, where I said, hey man, sorry, I'm not Alex Hormozi. I don't have a beard or a muscles as big as him, but I will be delivering the same amount of value. Okay, kind of like that. It's a damaging mission. It's where you admit a flaw to then say something good, and then people believe the good because you just admitted a flaw by yourself. We digress. Let's dive into the intro here and share this VSL structure. So, intro. The intro is you have to choose your level of awareness, okay? Because based on if you're running your VSLs to cold traffic or warm traffic or whatever the case is, there's different levels of awareness. And the way that Eugene Schwartz explains it is there's 5 levels of awareness. There's unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and most aware. Those are the 5 levels of awareness. So typically, if you're running ads or if you're running traffic to a cold audience, cold markets, they're typically unaware or problem aware. Okay, if you're running ads to organic or inbound or someone who's more warm, you can typically get away with the solution aware and product aware. Now, what does this mean? It simply means how we state our hook, right? Because if somebody is unaware, we have to make them aware of the problem. So we can't just say, hey, agency owners who are struggling with getting clients, because if they're unaware of the problem, then we have to make them realize the problem, which is like agency owners. Do you run an agency? Do you have this? Do you have that? Okay, you have a problem. Let me solve it. You have to make them aware of the problem. Okay, problem aware means the person is aware of the problem, just not trying to solve it. So it's be like agency owners, struggling to sign high ticket clients who've tried cold calling and this and this and this. This is for you. Listen up. That's people who are problem aware. Solution aware is people that are already aware of the solution. You just have to convince them why yours is the best for them. Okay, and it's typically in the intro you're going to call out your niche and their pain point based on their level of awareness. Okay, and once again, like I said here, cold traffic, they're typically unaware, problem aware. Warm traffic is either solution or product aware. Okay. And so if you're running to warm traffic, it's more about what's out there. Why is yours better? Alrighty. Now, next little section you want to go through on your VSL. So this is still part of the intro, is the niche call out and the pains. Okay. And so what this would look like is, for example, if you're starting your VSL, agency owners over 2K a month. Have you ever laid in bed at night, frustrated at the fact that you know you could be doing better, but despite your best ever, you still aren't exactly where you want to be? Okay. And you want to make 10K a month, but are tired, bored, confused, and overwhelmed? So you called out your niche, you called out the pain points, you called out and you listed the dream outcome you're helping them achieve. And then you basically say, like, I get it, and then you insert some relatable story. I get it. I was once the same way back in 2021. And here's where you move on to the next section, which is the Epiphany Bridge, which is where you share your story. The best VSLs are the ones where you share story. Now, granted, if you don't have a story sharing you getting over this, you could share a client story or an example, okay, or some sort of analogy. But if you have your own story, it's really good. It's like, I get it, man. I was once, tired, broke, depressed, stuck in university as well. And I was trying everything under the sun, but nothing seemed to work. That was until I found My mentor. My mentor gave me access to this, and this, and this, and he helped me scale from 0 to 10K per month in just under 3 months, right? And that changed my life forever. Okay. And so this is a story framework you can use. Okay. So to relate and explain why they should listen to you, because at the end of the day, when people are watching a video, you have to explain to them and sell them on the idea of listening to you. Why should they listen to you over anybody else out there? Okay. Because attention is the thing we're always competing for. So here's a really simple story framework that you can use, copied from some of the biggest storytellers in the world. Backstory. So the backstory of this thing. So the bad, right? So for example, like I just said, back in 2021, I was diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety, yada, 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 the change. But then I met my mentor, who I on a fluke met at the airport when I was flying to Mexico with my family. And he ended up running a business and took me under his wing to teach me everything he knew. Okay. So that's where you would insert, typically speaking, your mechanism. So if you're selling a coaching program, right, that's when I met my coach to sell them on, to start to pre-sell them on the idea that getting a coach is worth it. You're not mentioning anything about you having a coaching program or you being the coach, but it just subtly reminds them in their mind that, okay, coaching is something that helped this guy go from here to here. Coaching must be good. Okay, so it's subtly planting the seed. But then insert change mechanism. And then obstacle. What was the battle? And I worked with this guy day in and day out for 3 months straight, grinding my ass off until I finally scaled, from 0 to 10K per month in just under 3 months and was able to drop out of university. Okay, so that would be the story framework. And then you simply say this, and I want to repay the favor by showing you the ropes the same way that mentor did for me. Okay, and then you want to insert some proof here. Like why they should listen to you. Okay. So this would be like, and that's because I scaled my business to 47 million after this. And I learned tons of lessons along the way. A lot of people charge a lot of money for what I want to do is give that away to you for free, whatever the case is. This is like, we're getting nitty gritty here, right? I want to share with you the high level, but also the nitty gritty stuff to teach you how this should really, really work. Okay. So once again, you started out with a hook, which is typically your niche call out with the pain points as well. So like, agency owners under 10K a month, struggling with cold calling, listen up. Okay, so that would be the niche call and the pain points. And then relatability, story. I get it. I know how you feel. I was once there too. Insert story to make them believe why they should listen to you. And then you're going to get to the presentation and the MVO. Okay, and what MVO stands for is just minimal viable offer. It's where you're going to just super, super casually introduce what it is you're doing. Okay, you're not going to explain everything in detail. You're just super casually going to explain it. So you introduce your offer at a high level. Okay. And when I say presentation, you don't need to pull an entire presentation, but you're presenting the offer to them in a very subtle way. So you're like, well, welcome to school. Okay. Or like this is what Hormozi says when he does it. Or like, welcome to company name. What we do is we help real estate agents go from here to here by doing this. And then what you do is you want to add analogies here. It's kind of like, so for example, if you run ads for real estate agents, we help real estate agents run ads to attract their dream client without them having to call a single person. It's kind of like if you were to place a billboard instead of on the side of the road in front of just the car's windshields of those that you wanted to see it. So you get to pick out exactly which cars you want to put your windshield on and make sure it's the only thing that they can see. And so that you want to give these analogies, people can start to see how your offer works other than just you explaining it. Because once again, you explaining it, you have the perspective on your offer because you run it. Other people don't. And therefore you want to give them these kind of like statements, right? So what we do is kind of like this, or how it works is kind of like that, because then people can envision what it is. Okay. So then you want to explain a little bit more in depth after you've given them a hook. And then what you want to do is give a little soft loop. So for example, it's like we help real estate agents using the 3-step process. We run their ads, we do this, and we get them the results. The same way we just did for Stacy, who went from A to B in 7 months. Okay. If all of this were true, would you at least be a little interested? And this is a soft loop or a soft call to action, which is you're not asking for a big ask. You're just subtly getting them to go, yeah, yes, right? And just nod their head. And just throughout the whole VSL, you keep asking these check-in questions. I call them check-in questions, where you just want them to nod their head and go, yep, 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 yep. So at the end, when you say, hey, would you want to check it out? They go, yep. And then they buy. Okay. And so you're going to explain it on a high level. So what we do is kind of like this, and this. If that were kind of true, would you at least be a little bit interested? They're going to nod their head. And then you're going to move on. Okay. So you're going to move on to the FAQs, which is where now you basically say exactly this. Okay. Now you might be wondering, how much does it cost? Or how does it work? Or how long does it take? And what do I have to do? And what's the likelihood I succeed? Or you basically just answer all of the most frequently asked questions that you get, not from your clients. You can do your clients, but typically you want to insert all the questions all of your prospects ask you before the call, because those are the questions that these people will be having. You want to address the biggest elephant in the room. Okay. So whatever the most frequently asked questions you get, you want to insert them all here in one big thing. So it's like, great. Now you might be wondering, how do I get this? How does it work? How much do I have to pay? How much time do I have to put in? All the frequently asked questions. Great question. Let me break it down. Okay. And then what you want to do is you just want to have a super simple framework to answer the questions. You don't want to answer the questions in detail. You just want to ask a super simple, you want to just explain it with a super simple framework. And so what you can kind of do is just give examples and analogies once again, like we did in the presentation. So for example, right, like if one of the frequently asked questions, how much does it cost? If you're not going to share the price, which you shouldn't right now, or for most of you, you shouldn't share it at all. But if you're doing a low ticket thing, you probably shouldn't even share it right now. You should share it later. What you want to do is be like, great. So the price of our thing is kind of like, and then you give an analogy, right? It's kind of like home builders, right? It's impossible for me to give you a price without knowing the size of your home. And so, your home could cost anywhere from $1,000 to $10 million. But it would be unfair for me to say before I got to know what your home is. So what we do is we want to get to meet you and then share with you a quote that's specific for just your business, yada, yada, yada. So once again, using frameworks to answer questions, okay? And so you don't need to answer the question head on. You just need to have a framework. So for example, it's like, well, how do I get started? Great question. So let me explain. All you do is you just choose something you've liked before, you make a post about it, and then you get people to go talk about that thing, and then you get all the credit. It's kind of like having a party. The host invites all the people, but the people make the party good. And if the party is good, the host gets all the credit, even though the host did nothing except for invite everybody. So that's kind of like how it works. And so once again, using these kind of like statements, right? You just want to answer their questions and especially a lot of their limiting beliefs and things they have concerns around in this part of the presentation with using examples, analogies, and even proof if you can, right? Well, like, what if I'm a beginner? Well, what we have is we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, kind of like Jane, who literally didn't know a single thing before she joined the program. She didn't even know what a VSL was. And then she did this, 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 and this, and this, right? So just proof as much as you can, okay? Then we move on to the actual proof section. Now, granted, you want to throw in proof wherever you can because it's just so important in VSLs. It's like I even have written here, most important. And so what you want to do is you want to share more case studies, okay? And so Hormozi explained this, that if you're in a predominantly white area, you would be better off using, case studies and testimonials from white people. If you're in a predominantly Spanish-speaking area, you'd be better off using, testimonials and case studies and stories from Hispanic people, right? And so what you want to do is you want to use, if you have a really big market, you want to use the stories of the type of person that you're marketing to. This is very, very high level. This is like marketing 201, but just something I figured I would share. And so what you want to do is you want to have minimum 5 stories here you're going to share. The more the merrier, because it's just more proof and it makes people more convinced. And if they're convinced and they believe, they will buy, okay? And so what you do is you simply say the story, right? So it's like, this is Jane, who in the beginning, insert what she was like in the beginning. So the way you want to share stories is, once again, bad, change, outcome. So what were they like before they bought the service? What made them buy the service? And what was the outcome after? So here's Jane. Jane didn't know what to do. She was struggling. She was stressed. She was tired, confused, and overwhelmed. And after finally deciding to take a leap of faith because of the strong guarantee we have, she was able to make X amount of money in Y amount of days, and now finally live her dream and do her passion for a living. Whoopity-doo-doo-doo. Okay. And then you just keep repeating these over and over and over, just stories over and over and over and over and over for as long as you really, really want. Okay. And then at the end of this, this is one of the most important parts. If you're able to do this, you say, why am I so confident? Insert stats. So for example, Hormozi has a stat that 54.1% of school owners who sign up make their first dollar online, and the average school community makes $1,360 per month. Okay. And so he just keeps inserting stat after stat after stat after stat after stat. Okay. And statistic is what stat means. Okay. And you just share as many stats as you can. Right. State the truth and tell the facts. I think that's like Hormozi's quote, like famous saying, state the truth and tell the facts, or something like that. Something like that. We digress. And so for context, the point of the proof part not only is to make them believe, but it's a lot of belief breaking, right? And it's you trying to address the real hidden concerns, which is why when you choose your stories, don't just la-di-da explain your stories and choose them. You want to pick specific stories based on specific people and specific concerns, right? And so in your proof section allows you to address a lot of people's hidden concerns. For example, imagine if you're marketing to people and they're one of the biggest objections you get all the time is well, I have kids, I have no time. Then one of your stories, or at least one of them, if not more, should be about how someone else has kids and had no time, but still decided to join and made a bunch of money, because it overcomes these limiting beliefs. So actually, one of the really good ways you can find out what you should say in here is just take a list of all the most common objections you get, and then break down the objection and put it in one of your stories. Okay, as a reason, as one of their pre-changed things that they had. Okay, now after the proof section, if we go back to the top, right? So we've done niche callouts, we've done pain. The Epiphany bridge is just the story that you share. Okay, guru is where you are looked at as someone who's able to tell them why they should listen to you, which is when you share your story essentially. MVO is the back of the napkin. It's the quick and dirty. Here's my offer. FAQs, proof. Then we get to the price anchor. Okay, which is where, if we scroll down here, what you want to do, price anchor. There are people out there. What you want, like, the point of this is to price anchor your service as something that is like really, really valuable and also really, really expensive relative, or cheap relative to other people's pricing. And so how you'd say something like this. Now, look, listen, there's a lot of people out there teaching all this stuff I've just talked to you about and selling this stuff for a crazy amount of money. And then you'd insert the amount of money, like $10,000, right? But what if there was a faster, easier, and zero risk way for you to do this for yourself? Or, if you sell a service, for us to come in and do this for you. And then once again, soft loop, right? If all that were true, would you at least be a little interested? If you believed all that were true, would you at least want to hear a bit more? Right? Once again, these soft loops, these soft call to actions, these checking questions to make them go, yep, just to nod their head the entire time. Okay? So it's a very, very subtle price anchor. You literally just say, after the stories, okay, after the why am I so confident, insert stat. But look, listen, there are people out there teaching this stuff and selling all this for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. But what if there was a faster, easier, cheaper, and zero risk way for you to do all this stuff for yourself? Now, if that were true, would you at least be somewhat interested? Once again, that's how you'd say it, okay? And then you move on to the concerns, which is where you address all the concerns, all the things you haven't yet talked about, or all the elephants in the room that they're still thinking, okay? And you could literally say this, but what about the time, or what about this, or what about that? Okay, and then you would just explain these away. Well, what about X? Well, Y, kind of like insert case studies. This is the framework you want to answer the question. Well, what about all the time it takes? Well, we have a system for you to track your time so you can do this, kind of like how Jane didn't have any time because she had 3 kids and a daughter and yada, 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 and she's working 2 full-time jobs. But after, getting access to our yada, yada system, she was able to reduce her time output to 4 hours per month and able to make a bunch of money. Whoopity-doo, okay? And you just want to address all the concerns, right? So address the concern and then give a kind of like case study to handle the concern. Like you can sit here and tell them why, like you'll help them fix it, but the best way is just to share an example of somebody else you help fix the problem that they're having, right? But what about funding? Well, Jane had the same issue. She didn't have enough money at all. And so we did is we partnered up with a credit partner who came in and funded her thing for her, so she was able to do it. And guess what? Within just 13.8 days, she was able to pay them back in full with 0% interest and have a profit after just 2 weeks. And you can even have a soft loop. Now listen, if that were the same case for you, would you at least be open to looking more at it? Something like that, okay? Now, once you've gone through all the concerns and you've addressed every single concern that they could still possibly have, because once again, depending on your VSL, like if you're trying to sell a call, it's less about the concerns because that's more on the actual sales call. But especially even then, like you still want to get them bought into the idea. But especially if you're selling some lower ticket item where you're trying to sell like an actual thing that costs money with the VSL, you want to make sure you address every single concern. As a matter of fact, if you sell some sort of low ticket item, you don't take sales calls. Literally, the most important thing is your VSL. There was even a guy on school who he took his VSL out and his conversion rate dropped by like 80%. Or something along those lines, like 80% of his conversion rate dropped by taking out his VSL, which shows us that like the most important thing when selling a low ticket item with no call is your VSL. So if there's one thing you're spending a lot of time on, make it be your VSL. Okay. Now, once you've addressed all the concerns, which like I said, if you're doing low ticket, not as important. If you're doing high ticket, If you're doing low ticket, very important. If you're doing high ticket, less important because you'll address the concerns on the call together. It's time to move on to the next steps. Okay. Which is once again, And for context, this VSL funnel is more geared towards lower ticket items. However, you can still use this exact same framework. You just want to replace a few other things to gear it towards a higher ticket thing. When I say higher ticket, I'm assuming that you're closing them on the call, whereas lower ticket, I'm assuming that you're trying to sell them just on this landing page that they're at. Okay, now it's time to talk about next steps. Okay, because like you want the person to have the clearest idea of what's going to happen after, because people are super, super scared of that. Okay, and also for context, one of the cool things you can do in concerns is like you can even share some of your cool, things that make you stand out as a company. For example, school's thing that they talked about in the concern section is how, hey, you would get it. Some people sign up and they forget to cancel. If this happens, we don't have a problem refunding you, even if it's after the 14 days. Just shoot us a quick email, and even if you forget to cancel your trial, we'll cancel it for you and refund you. So you don't need to worry about you forgetting to cancel it. Once again, addressing all the concerns they could possibly have. Okay. Less important if you're selling on the call, because we'll talk about that there, but we digress. Okay, anyways, next steps. So what you want to do is answer the question, what happens if I sign up now? So you would literally say this in the VSL. So what happens if I sign up now? And what you want to do is lay out the most clear action steps you possibly could. Selling the vacation, not the flight. You want to make it as easy as possible, right? So don't be like, well, you're going to put your email in here and make this account and load this profile picture. No, you're going to make it super simple, right? So it's like if you're selling something online, what you're going to do is you're going to click the button, okay? You're going to click the button. The second you buy, you'll be sent an email. In that email, you're going to get this link. You're going to click this link here. As soon as you get access to that link, you get the course. And then you want to do a better job selling the vacation than I just did there, but you just want to sell the vacation, sell the vacation, sell the vacation. So for example, it's like if on school, I'm pretty sure the way you did it is like once you click join, you create your group, you invite 3 friends, and you start making money. It's something like that, where it's just like you made it seem so simple, and you made it attached to the dream outcome of getting members, getting clients, making money. Okay, so the same you want to do. Make it as simple, as easy as possible of exactly what's going to happen, so they know exactly what's going to happen from the second they click off this video to when they buy the thing to what happens after that, and make it in alignment with their goals. So once again, you want to make it in alignment with what they want. Okay, because that's the most important thing people forget out. Is like when you're marketing, when you're selling, you want to give the person the thing that they want. Okay, so in this case, whatever the thing that is that they want, whether it's money, whether it's whatever, you're going to make sure that's the thing you're selling them on. Okay, not the nitty gritty. Oh, you can click this Notion link here and then you'll get access to no. You want to sell the dream. You want to sell the vacation. Okay. So, and then at the very end of this, section where you talk about the clear action steps, you want to give them a best and worst case. Okay, and this is one of the best closes of all time. Hormozi even talks about this a lot. This is one of his favorite closes. It's actually one of my favorite closing lines as well, which is, hey man, worst case scenario, right? Absolute worst case scenario. You get access to all the stuff I just mentioned for free for 14 days. You get a refund. You run away with it for the rest of your life. And so you learn how to make money online. Best case scenario is and then you insert whatever the best case scenario is. And so I use this a lot in my agency, where I'd be like, hey man, worst case scenario, my arms get cut off and I can't run the ads anymore, and you only get 2 new deals next month. Best case scenario, you and I both on the same team, we run it like there's no tomorrow, and you sign an extra 20 clients over the next 2 months, right? And you just want to play these like best case, worst case scenarios and make the worst case still a good case scenario, right? So for example, with the thing I sell, I'm like, hey man, worst case scenario, I have an ROI guarantee, so you can't lose money. And so worst case, you get free coaching for a year and download and steal all the assets I have for free and run with them, right? And it's like, oh, worst case, I get access to all this kind of stuff, and it makes it seem like an irresistible offer. It makes them seem stupid to say no, okay? After you've done this, there's one more part to finish off the VSL, which is the guarantee and scarcity. So all you want to do is, if you haven't already, you want to just state your guarantee and then the reason to buy right now, okay? So for example, and hey, we have a full 7-day money back guarantee. So for whatever reason you don't like it in the next 7 days, give us a shout and we'll fully refund you. And yes, even if you forget after the first 7 days and you're 8 or 9 days behind and you still don't like it, just give us a shout. We have no problem making exceptions. We just want to make sure that you are happy. Okay. And for those of you who buy within the next 24 hours of watching this, you'll get access to insert reason to buy now. Okay. So what you want to do is have a bunch of bonuses, a bunch of cool scarcity items here that they will get access to if they buy within the next X time frame, right? Which just creates scarcity and urgency to give them a reason to buy now. Because here's the thing, a lot of people are really bad at making decisions, and so you try to make it as easy as possible for them to make a decision, which in this case is just adding scarcity, right? Adding some sort of thing that makes them want to make the decision now, right? And so one of the best ways to do this is just give out a bunch more bonuses that are literally worth more than the cost of signing up. Like, just give them more bonuses than like the cost of the thing you want them to do anyway. It's the best way to get them to buy now, or some limited time unscalable offer, right? So one of my favorite ones is, hey, if you sign up now, I'll give you a free 2-hour coaching call plus this extra course I used to charge $1,000 for. And it's like, oh my goodness, I want access to those two things. And what I do is, if you give them multiple bonuses, you have more people take you up on it, because there's more reasons why someone will buy. Because maybe someone doesn't want the 2-hour coaching call, but they want the course. Or maybe someone doesn't care about the course, but they want the 2-hour coaching call. The more bonuses you have, the more likely somebody has to take up on it, because you have these different things people can latch onto. So yeah, that is the perfect VSL framework by Alex Hormozi, exactly what he kind of went through. And I guess one thing I'll say here is, if you are, if you're in the low ticket space, this will work incredibly well, especially if you sell on your VSL. If you're in the higher ticket space where you sell on a call, this will still work very, 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 very well. You just have to acknowledge a few of the things that may be different, right? So maybe like the MVO will be a little bit different, because perhaps you may not like share your offer in this VSL. You're just going to give them like a high level of kind of how it works. Because once again, it's kind of what the MVO is anyway. Maybe you won't price anchor. Maybe you won't share. You should still share next steps, but it shouldn't be next steps when they buy. It should be next steps when they book. Okay, so it's like, hey, the second you click here, choose the time that works best for you. We're gonna what we're gonna do is schedule our team. We're gonna send our team out to do some research on your area to find out how we can get the best information to you. We'll also send you over this free course that you can use to increase your show up rate, or to increase your lead rate or conversion rate as of today, so you can make more money. You can even make money by the time you show up to the call. So once again, give them some sort of thing that can benefit them. That's also plays into the scarcity, and it also plays into the concern that they're not going to get anything out of this call. Okay, so that is the perfect VSL framework by Alex Hormozi. If you want me to make another version of this, but break down somebody else's VSL framework who's also really good, perhaps like Charlie Morgan, or something for a higher ticket item, let me know, and I'm happy to do that. Hope you guys enjoyed. And shout out to the GOAT Hormozi for not giving me, but sharing this and all that kind of fun stuff. Catch you in the next one. Peace.